When the cost of doing business rises, one of the most dangerous decisions an owner can make is a decision they never actually admit making. They choose not to raise the prices or reduce the scope, but they continue promising the same level of quality. But behind the scenes, it's very clear that something has to give. And this is when the work becomes rushed, the materials become a little less reliable, response times get longer, and those little thoughtful details begin to disappear. So in essence, the customer experience slowly loses the very things that made people trust the business in the first place. And because there was never a formal decision, there's no accountability and usually no honest explanation. The customer simply feels that the business is just not what it used to be. So in this episode, we're not going to make a blanket argument for raising prices. It's about recognizing that when cost rises, owners are making a decision among price, scope, and quality, even when they avoid calling it one. The real question is, what are you willing to change, and what do you refuse to cheapen? Now, this is not a theoretical concern for small business owners right now. It's happening. As a matter of fact, in the June 2026 Small Business Economic Trends Report, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, also known as NFIB, found that inflation was the single most important business problem for 21% of the owners that they surveyed. Now, for context, the respondents were randomly drawn from the NFIB's membership. So this was not a census of every small business in the country, but it offers a useful view of what a significant group of its owners are experiencing. And when seasonally adjusted, it net 38% reported raising their average selling prices. In this context, the word net means the percentage reporting increases minus the percentage reporting decreases. So looking ahead, a net 32% plan is to raise prices within the following 3 months. So those numbers tell us that many owners are already responding to pricing pressure. So the question is not simply whether a business should charge more. The harder question is how the business will respond without weakening the promise that brought customers to it in the first place. An owner sees the increased cost of supplies, labor, insurance, software, shipping, packaging, rent, and everything else required to deliver the work. The customer does not see all of those internal calculations. They only see the final experience. So they see whether the order arrived as expected, whether the service felt careful, intentional, whether the product you provided lasted, if the communication during the process was clear, and whether your business followed through on what it said it would do. And that is why quietly reducing quality can be more damaging than an honestly explained change in price or scope. A price change is something that is visible. A customer can consider it and then make an informed choice. A scope change can also be visible. The customer can decide whether the revised offer still meets their needs. But when quality declines without explanation, the customer is left with a broken expectation. They pay for what they believe the business had always provided, only to receive something much less dependable. And that weakens trust. Before changing anything the customer receives, it makes sense to look for waste behind the scenes. There may be subscriptions that no one uses, duplicated tools, unnecessary packaging, inefficient steps, preventable rework, or custom exceptions that consume time without really improving the income. Removing that kind of friction is not cheapening the business, it's operating the business more carefully. But efficiency does have its limit. Eventually, an owner may reach the point where there is no harmless expense left to remove. The remaining costs are connected to the actual promise, the dependable materials, skilled labor, sufficient time, responsive service, careful preparation, or standard of work that the customer can trust. At that point, continuing to cut is no longer an efficiency decision. It's a value decision. And this is where it helps to finish this one sentence. Customers chose us because they can count on us too. And fill in that blank based on your specific business model. The answer will be different for every business. For a service provider, customers may be counting on clear thinking, reliable communication, or work that is completed with care. For product businesses, they may be counting on durability, consistency, safety, or a particular level of finish. For a creator or educator, they may be counting on accurate information, including thoughtful preparation or content that respects their time. That answer identifies the part of the customer promise that should receive the greatest protection. Not every feature has to remain untouched, and not every flourish is essential. Quality does not mean keeping every expensive detail simply because it has always been there. Some elements support the promise. Others are just habits or extras, decorative layers that may no longer justify the cost. The discipline is learning the difference. Once the central promise is clear, there are 3 primary levers to consider. The first obvious one is the price. If the same scope and quality still make sense, then the price may need to change. That does not mean automatically passing every increased expense to the customer, but it does mean evaluating whether the current price still supports the standard being promised. The next lever is the scope. A business may keep a price accessible by making the offer smaller or more focused. That could mean fewer included options, fewer revision rounds, a longer turnaround time, or removing a feature that customers rarely use. A smaller promise delivered well is often more trustworthy than a large promise delivered inconsistently. The third lever we have is quality. Quality can be reconsidered, but it should be done carefully and honestly. There's a difference between simplifying packaging that adds little to the experience and replacing a dependable material with one that is likely to fail. There's a difference between shortening a report and reducing the thinking behind it. The customer may not care about every internal detail, but they will care when the change affects the results they believe they were buying. These levers can also be combined. A modest price adjustment may be paired with a more focused scope. A lower cost option may be introduced without weakening the original premium offer. A costly extra may be removed so that the business can protect the part the customer values the most. So there's no single answer that fits every company, but there are a few questions that can make the decision more intentional. What promise caused the customer to choose the business? Which changes could the customer reasonably feel after the purchase? What can be simplified without weakening the result? And which decision can the business explain clearly without hiding, evading, or simply hoping that no one notices? And that final question matters because communication is part of our customer's experience. Customers do not need a complete account of every internal expense, but they do need clarity about changes that will affect what they will pay, receive, or experience. A business might explain that it's reducing the number of included revisions so it can continue protecting turnaround time and the quality of work. It might explain that our price is changing so the business can maintain the materials and service standards customers have grown to expect. It might even discontinue a rush option because accommodating it has begun to make regular orders less dependable. And those explanations are not dramatic. They're very specific, respectful, and connected to the customer promise. And that is the larger principle. If the only way to keep a price looking unchanged is for the work to become rushed, the materials to become unreliable, communication all but disappears, or the owner and team operate beyond their capacity indefinitely, the cost has to truly remain unchanged. The cost has not truly remained unchanged. It's simply been transferred to the experience instead. So the customer is paying for it either way, one monetarily, the other through frustration, inconsistency, or just straight out disappointment. So while rising costs are forcing difficult decisions, and none of the available options will ever feel perfect, you want to avoid the decisions that diminish your quality and ruin trust with your customer. You want to make decisions that allow the business to remain strong, even when economic pressures make you feel weak. So before making the next cut, I want you to finish this sentence. Even when costs rise, we refuse to cheapen blank. Then examine every possible adjustment through that commitment. Protect the promise that matters most. Simplify what does not strengthen it. Change the price or scope when necessary. And communicate the decision honestly enough that the customer understands what is changing and that you are determined to preserve their experience. I'll include the NFIB report in the description box if you want to review the research behind today's discussion. And if this episode gave you a useful way to think about rising costs, like the video and share in the comments what your business refuses to cheapen. Also, subscribe to The Intentional Operator for more grounded conversations about building a business that is clear, durable, and worthy of trust.